Well, what do you know? It's Graham's story time again. And I have a book that I used to read to my kids. It's called No Jumping on the Bed. Have you ever heard that? No jumping on the bed? Well, I decided to wear my glasses because, like Juliet, I have an astigmatism. And that means my eyes work differently. So one works harder and one works less, and then I get a headache. But if I put on my glasses, then they both work the same amount, and then I don't get the headache. And besides, I see a little better too. I don't wear them all the time, but mostly if I'm watching something or if I'm reading something, that kind of thing. That's when I do. So, um, I'm excited to read this book. I saw it at the library and I checked it out because I thought, oh my goodness, I remember this story. I remember reading this to my kids, and it was fun. And they liked it and they read it again. And I think I ended up buying the book because I enjoyed it. But I was at the library, I was looking for Pete the Cat books, and I found this one. I said, oh, I need to get that. So I'm going to put on my glasses. Mine are green. Juliet's are lavender. They're beautiful. Okay. Do you like my fairy up there? Yeah. Okay, so it's called No Jumping on the Bed by Ted Arnold. And look at it shows the little boy and his dad reading a book together. It's fun to read books with people. That's why I read to you. Okay, well, I looked at this book and I thought, I bet this book takes place in New York City. And I think I'm right. It doesn't actually say it, but there's a little sign here that I'll show you. So look at, there we go. Here's the city. And if you look in, there is the boy jumping on his bed. And look at, he lives in one of these tall apartment buildings. When I was in New York City visiting my grandparents, my Nana and Grandpa, they were in an apartment building and we had to take the elevator up to their room. I was 7 and I stayed with my grandparents for the whole summer, but I didn't jump on the bed. Okay, so here is the dedication page. So it says, for William and Walter, special thanks to Peter Ellick and Paula Wiseman. Look at, he even has red hair. Oh, okay, now I'm going to show you. See the sign on the wall? It says Yonkers. Yonkers is a place in New York. So that's why I'm guessing maybe it's New York. And the kid must like to fly space because there's a space capsule there hanging from his wall. Do you see other things there that give you a clue maybe what he likes? I see a baseball and a mitt, and I see a truck. So we'll see some fun things as we go. And of course, his stuffed dog. It says, in his bedroom, near the top floor of a tall apartment building, Walter was getting ready for bed. Before turning out the light, his father said, if I've told you once, I've told you a million times, no jumping on the bed. One day it'll crash right through the floor. Now lie down and go to sleep. Just one more time, asked Walter. But instead, he plopped down on his pillow and he squeezed his eyes closed. So here's his father saying, no jumping on the bed. And there's his stuffed dog, his toy. All right, so here's his dad turning off the light. And here's Walter in bed with all his toys and his stuffed dog. And good night, said his father, and he turned off the light and pulled the door almost closed. The room was dark and quiet, except for a soft thump, thump, thump coming from the room above. Do sometimes you have the door open just a little bit so you can still see some light? That's Delbert upstairs, thought Walter. Oh, Delbert lived upstairs in the apartment upstairs, and it sounds like he was jumping on his bed. Well, Walter jumping on his bed. And he says, he switched on his bedside lamp. If Delbert can jump on his bed, so can I. Walter bounced higher and higher. On his last jump, his hair brushed the ceiling. But when he came back down, his mattress creaked, the floor cracked, and the whole bed tipped sideways. And then down through the floor fell Walter, bed and all. So he's going higher and higher and higher. And then he's crashing through the floor. See, his bed's tipping sideways. Where's his dog? You see his dog? He's going, whoa, and Delbert, and then he's going down. Oh, so he says, if Delbert can jump on his bed, so can I. Now it happened that Walter's bedroom was directly above Miss Hattie's dining room, and I'll show you that. You see the feet coming down from the ceiling? And there's Miss Hattie sitting at her table. Now it happened that Walter's bedroom was directly above Miss Hattie's dining room. She was more than a little surprised when a bed fell through her ceiling and Walter landed in her plate of spaghetti and meatballs. I was not expecting company for dinner, she mumbled with a mouthful of meatballs. And look at that. Walter and his stuffed dog landed right on the spaghetti. Oh, what a mess. Oh my gosh. It was so heavy coming down. Look at, they're heading through the floor. Okay, let's see what happens. Said Walter, spaghetti is my all-time favorite. But before he could eat, his bed smashed through the table and kept right on crashing down through the floor. Down and down fell Walter, Miss Hattie, the plate of spaghetti, the bed, and all. So here's them crashing through the floor. And there's Walter with the spaghetti and meatballs. I wonder if he could eat on the way down. All right. Miss Hattie's dining room was above Mr. Matty's TV room. And I'll show you a picture of that. There's Mr. Matty. He's watching TV. And what's bumping off of his head? So I want you to see on the TV, it looks like Godzilla. Looks like a monster. But there's a meatball that plopped on his head. And you see in the back there, the fish tank? Miss Hattie's dining room was above Mr. Matty's TV room. Mr. Matty didn't even notice a bed falling through his ceiling until a meatball bounced off his head. Miss Hattie tumbled into his lap and Walter splashed into his aquarium. I've already had my bath tonight, said Walter. He wanted to stay and watch the monsters on TV, but his bed crunched through the floor, taking the TV with it. Boy, that bed's still coming. Okay, here's the picture of the crash. There's Miss Matty landing on his lap, and there's Walter going into the aquarium with the fish. Where's his dog? His dog's messed up in there somewhere. Oh, I see. There's his stuffed dog right there in the corner. I was saying, where's his stuffed dog? Down and down fell Walter, Miss Hattie, Mr. Matty, the TV, the spaghetti, the bed, and all. Walter's Aunt Batty had just moved into the building. She was still unpacking when Miss Hattie, Mr. Matty, and a dripping wet Walter tumbled through the ceiling right into a box containing her rare Patagonian stamp collection. Okay, here's his aunt. She's moving in, and they fell right through the ceiling. Oh, look at the man is still in his chair into her stamp collection. Oh, do you see the stuffed dog? He's there too, next to the TV. A stamp collection are stamps, and now they're like stickers, but before you used to lick them, and if they got wet, they got sticky. So is Walter wet? Mm-hmm. He fell into the stamps, and so they're now sticky and sticking all over him. Oh my goodness. When he burst through the bottom of the box, Walter was a sticky mess. "I've seen you started collecting stamps," said Aunt Batty as she followed Walter through the new hole in her floor. Down and down fell Walter, Miss Hattie, Mr. Matty, Aunt Batty, the stamp collection, the TV, the spaghetti, the bed, and all. Oh my goodness. Is that what happens when you jump on the bed? Oh, so here's a picture. I guess this is the next room they're falling into. There's two little girls, and they've built a tower out of blocks, so that's not going to last long. And one little girl is putting the kitty out of the room. Okay. It says, Patty and Natty had worked 3 days building their dream house with blocks. Afraid that Fatty Cat might knock something over, they carefully shooed her out for the night. Then the upstairs neighbors became through the ceiling. "Excuse us," said Walter, remembering his manners. "We won't be staying long." The words were barely past his lips when Walter's bed bashed through the floor and continued on its way. And of course, it bashed right through that tower, that house that took them 3 days to build. Oh my goodness. Down, down fell Walter, Miss Matty, Hattie, Mr. Matty, Aunt Batty, Natty, Patty, Natty, Fatty Cat, the stamps, the TV, the spaghetti, the bed, and all. The last thing Mr. Hanratty ever expected to see was a bed coming through his studio ceiling, followed by nearly everyone in the building. Oh my goodness, look who Walter has with him now. He's got the cat, Fatty Cat, and the stamps. And oh, there's Mr. Hanratty. He's an artist. He's in the studio. And look at his ceiling. Oh my goodness. They're all coming in. Help. "If I had known you wanted to see my paintings," he said, "I would have tidied up a bit." But they never once paused to admire Mr. Hanratty's colorful artwork. They were too busy splashing in his cans of paint. Oh my goodness. Then his floor caved in and everyone followed Walter's bed down through the hole. Down and down fell Walter, Miss Hattie, Mr. Matty, Aunt Batty, Patty and Natty, Mr. Hanratty, Fatty Cat, 17 cans of paint, the stamps, the TV, the spaghetti, the beds, and all. Oh my goodness. What a mess. Oh, the cat's going to get painted. Oh, look at this picture. Sometimes you have to look for a long time. Who can we find? There's Walter. He's kind of blue and yellow now. Find the puppy dog? There's the cat who is now yellow. Is that the puppy up there? Let me see. Nope, that's somebody's hand. Oh, look at the monster. The Godzilla is still on the TV. That's really funny. Let me see what this page says. It says, Maestro Fernigati and his string quartet were astonished by the colorful crowd that fell from the ceiling. The maestro loved an audience, even if they dropped in unannounced. But then Walter's bed smashed through the floor, and paint splattered everywhere. The maestro wished his audience would leave. And so they did, along with his string quartet. Oh my goodness. Oh, hey, look at this picture. There's Walter in his bed. Maestro Ferlinghetti practice room floor was also the basement ceiling. It was dark and quiet as midnight down there. Walter squeezed his eyes closed and tumbled through the darkness until he landed on something soft. He opened his eyes. everything was in its place. His bedroom lights were out. The door was almost closed, and through it Walter could hear his mother and father talking quietly. "No more jumping on the bed for me," mumbled Walter as he lay back down to sleep. Was he dreaming it? What do you think? See, he woke up and he goes, "Oh, look, everything's in its place. The door's open a teeny bit. Okay. Oh, I'm not going to jump on the bed." So, oh, there's one more page. Suddenly, he heard a creak. The ceiling cracked, and down came Delbert. Remember, Delbert was jumping above him? Delbert, bed and all, down and down fell Delbert. Funny book. It's a funny ending. You think, oh, he was just sleeping. And then they have actually a picture of the man who wrote the book. I'm sure he's much older now because I used to read this to my kids when they were little. Oh, how funny. What a fun book. Did you like that book? I like that book. I like it when I read a book that reminds me of reading to my kids when they were little. It kind of helps me to remember them when they were little. Okay, thanks for watching and thanks for everybody. It's nice to have friends. If you want to share these videos with your friends, you can do so they can watch them too. All right. Bye-bye. I love you.